Welcome back, everyone, to the Show of Requirement, a Harry Potter podcast streaming everywhere you get podcasts and also on our YouTube channel, the H Potter Fanatics. We are back with another episode. It's been quite some time. Life and all that kind of happens. I'm David, and I'm joined by my co-host, Abby Tooley. And I think, Abby, I could be wrong. This is the first time that it's been you and I without Spencer. Usually Spencer's always the constant in every single episode, and either you're gone or I'm gone.
I would agree. I think that's, I don't know if you and I have just done one together before.
Yeah. So this is brand new territory.
Yeah.
We hope that you have fun on this new journey. So obviously Spencer is not here. And just for everyone to kind of know just ahead of time, Spencer probably will not be back for quite some time. He just felt like he had to step away from the podcast for a bit, and we completely understand. And we can't wait for him to come back. But for now, it's just going to be Abby and I. But we're excited to continue to bring you Harry Potter content. And today, it's a subject that we've talked about several times, probably about 3 times now. But this will be the last time we do talk about it, as this episode is entitled New Beginnings. Because if you've not heard, HBO Max, or actually now just called Max now, is officially making a new Harry Potter series. It's a new old series. Basically, what that means is that they are taking the original Harry Potter story and converting it into a TV series, which each book will be 1 season with a brand new cast. Apparently not a brand new logo and not brand new music so far. It's kind of the same, and we've talked about it a couple of times, but we decided to let our thoughts, we don't want to give you our raw initial thoughts as soon as it came out, because it probably would not have been good. But it's happening. It's official. This is in the works. She Who Must Not Be Named is in this. She has her hand in this. So that comes with a lot of mixed emotions and feelings. But Abby, talk to me about, after weeks out from this announcement, what are your thoughts about this series and where it could go?
I think ultimately there's still that part of me that's like disappointed. That's like, why? Why did we need this? But I think that's also because I am such a big fan of the movies. They're very nostalgic for me, and I'm very partial to them. I love them a lot. There's the skeptic part of me that's like, sure, it's been announced and confirmed, but I'll believe it when it's here. But then there's also the part of me that's like trying to be optimistic, like, yeah, I guess this gives us an opportunity to see it told differently, or get to see parts of the books that we didn't get to see before.
Sure.
So like trying to find things about it to kind of stay optimistic. But ultimately, I think I'm still like, this isn't needed.
Yeah.
Nor wanted by a ton of people. There's a group out there. There are people out there who do want it. And I can respect your wants and desires, but I personally don't want it.
Right. Here, I'm a lot calmer now. I sent Spencer and Abby like a really long text rant, because at the beginning I was kind of along the similar lines of you, of just like, well, we don't need this, and not a lot of people want this. So I was like, I don't understand why this is happening. But then after seeing tweets, TikToks, videos made about this specific topic, my mindset switched. And this is kind of where I'm at with it. I'll agree with you that it's not necessarily needed. It's not necessarily wanted. But at this point, what else could Warner Brothers Max do at this point? I mean, here's what I mean. So obviously, Fantastic Beast, as it stands right now, that story is not going to continue. They have abandoned it, and the reason for that is due to, you know, how bad it did in the box office when it came out last April. And that happened for several reasons. Obviously, that happened because of She Who Must Not Be Named and people boycotting for those reasons. People boycotting because of the Ezra Miller drama, the Johnny Depp drama, and solely for the fact that they did not enjoy The Crimes of Grindelwald.
Right.
And so it did bomb in the box office. It really did. And especially with the reason of, well, She Who Must Not Be Named was involved. Why would I ever watch this? And we saw this with Hogwarts Legacy of people who hated what she said, and we don't need to get into all of that, although maybe we could at one point or time, or maybe not. But however you feel about that, with Hogwarts Legacy, She Who Must Not Be Named is going to get money for this. She's going to get paid for this. So I'm not going to get this game. And it still was successful to get all this money. So you're in this kind of situation to where you're Warner Brothers and you're saying, okay, well, this bombed. This was a brand new thing. New story, whatever. Well, from a business sense, they looked at, okay, what have we had the most success in doing? It was the original story.
Yeah.
And so in their minds, they're thinking, well, they obviously don't like Fantastic Beasts. So we're going to go back to what makes us money, the original story and all of that. And they'll eat that up and they'll love it. And so I was upset because I was seeing TikToks and tweets of just like, we didn't want this. We didn't need this. I agree with that point. But then they said, you could have given us the Marauder series, the Founders of Hogwarts, a Draco series, which we've done a Draco writing room. So you can go back and check that out on our podcast in the catalog, and it'll be there. It was probably one of our most successful podcasts out there. So a Draco series and a couple of other things. And my thought to that was to say, okay, but She Who Must Not Be Named will be involved in that. There's no project that you can do in the wizarding world of Harry Potter that She Who Must Not Be Named is not going to be involved in some kind of way, because they have to go to her to get approval to do anything. She owns it. It's her idea. So if you are boycotting She Who Must Not Be Named, you really don't have any right to say, well, we should have gotten this, we should have gotten this, we should have gotten this, because guess what? She's going to be involved in the process. She's going to get money off of anything that's made. So really what you're advocating for is no more Harry Potter. And you have to be okay with that. If you are boycotting She Who Must Not Be Named. And that's a tough pill to swallow, but that's the reality of it. And so that's why I think this reboot is happening, is because they're looking at it and says, well, this can make us the most money. Whether we agree with that or not, at this point doesn't matter, because they're going to do it.
She's still going to be involved.
Yeah, no matter what happens.
Series. Yeah.
And so at this point, I'm leaning into it. I'm saying, you know what? Maybe this could be good. Maybe this could be enjoyable. For the reasons that you listed, we'd get to see some of those cool, funny stories, amazing stories from the books that we never got to explore in the original films with Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, Emma Watson, Alan Rickman. And as iconic as those characters, those actors were in those characters, in those roles, like, it's going to be hard to see someone else be Snape and Minerva as Ron, Harry, and Hermione. Like it's going to be tough to do. So those are the things that I'm just like, oh, I'm not so sure about. I'm not crazy about it. But here's my proposition for you, Abby. You can let me know what you think of it. And again, this is just me thinking. This is me trying to make the best out of it. So here's what I think they should do. If this has to happen, if there's no way out from this, I propose that Jude Law should play Dumbledore in this series. And here's my reason why. If you're looking at faithful adaptations of the books or even the screenplays, you can kill two birds with one stone and finish your Fantastic Beasts series. Because it's going to take 11 years, 10 years maybe to finish telling this story. Do whatever you have to do to Jude Law for the prosthetics to make him look older or whatnot, whatever. Have him play as Dumbledore. You go through this entire series, and then once this series is over, it's the production of Fantastic Beasts 4, where you have an older Jude Law who I don't know how many years The Secrets of Dumbledore and the next film, how much distance there needs to be year-wise. But if you can time this right, if you can time this correctly, you could have Jude Law be at the age that he needs to be, quote unquote, for the next that battle with Grindelwald. And you could look at this Harry Potter series and you can say, all right, Fantastic Beasts and this new Harry Potter series are officially tier 1 canon with the books, and said this is the official canon. This is the actual stories, because it includes everything from the books into this TV show. And for the films, we can finish Fantastic Beasts 4, and who knows, based off of this TV show of the original story, you can do spin-offs of the Marauders. You could do the founding of Hogwarts. You could do other things, create new stories as well. Like you can do all of these different kinds of things and use this TV show as the launching pad for a brand new, more faithful canon structure. Those are my thoughts. That is how I'm trying to make this work. But your thoughts on that entire idea?
I appreciate your optimism. I think you're dreaming big.
I really am. I know I am. And if Spencer is listening to this, I know that he's probably like, screaming. David, he's like, that's never. And here's the thing. I acknowledge that this is not going to happen.
I think I mean, I'm not against the idea of Jude Law playing Dumbledore. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't know. I feel pretty positive they're not going to finish out Fantastic Beasts, as much as I would love for them to. Mm-hmm. I don't think they'll come back around to it. At the end of it, I don't know, they'll go, you know what, let's revisit and finish out Fantastic Beasts. Maybe they will. I don't know. I could be wrong. Mm-hmm. But they could. I mean, honestly, I never expected they'd do this. So
that's true.
We'll see what they decide to do at the end of this. But I don't know. I would love if this would launch us into a new kind of like Age of Harry Potter, like or a
Mm-hmm.
new Wizarding World. Being able to see new stories come out of this.
Right.
Kind of like when they decided to do the sequels for Star Wars. It's not a reboot, but it's adding on to the story, which then spurred, I think, on like now we're getting a bunch of High Republic books and we're getting TV shows and
Yes.
we're getting
Yes.
like I think it'd be awesome if this somehow transitioned into that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we got new stories that way. But I think you are right that like She Who Must Not Be Named is still going to be attached to whatever
Mm-hmm.
content is produced. And so I think that is something else that bothered me was that, I'm seeing people like, yes, like this is such a great idea. We've been waiting for this. This would be so much better. But it's like, well, but what about all the people who were like boycotting anything Harry Potter because of her,
Yeah, and full disclosure, I throw this idea. Maybe those people are still going to boycott. Like they're
Oh,
like
probably. Yeah.
and there's like I'm still not watching this. And
Yeah.
maybe for the first time we're actually hearing those voices of people who wanted a reboot finally get to speak their mind. It's part of the fandom that has been silent, not because they've been
Right.
silenced, but just because like I don't think anyone even if you hated those movies, I don't think anyone really thought that this was a possibility. I think
I mean, this, I don't know about everyone else, but this surprised
mhm.
me. I never thought,
Oh yeah.
well, maybe like 10 more years from now or
Mhm.
10 to 15, 20, maybe I thought it would be time where they could do this again.
Mhm.
But this completely came out of nowhere for me. I was like, are you, I think that's why I was so reactive at the beginning because it just felt like it
Yeah.
came out of nowhere. And I
Yeah.
was like, what do you mean? um, it
And
was just fast.
it really was. And maybe this had to do with so I did hear some reports that Emma, Daniel, and Rupert, when they were talking about, oh yeah, we're gonna do the Cursed Child or whatnot. I read a report. I don't know how accurate this is, so please take my words with a grain of salt. I heard something along the lines of the fact that they were approached by Warner Brothers to do a Cursed Child film, and all three of them said no because She Who Must Not Be Named would be involved, and they did not want to be associated with her. So this is what triggered the well, let's start all over. Let's do this all over again. And maybe they're thinking that with this cast they'll be able to do the Cursed Child maybe down the line. But I've also seen people who said that what's going to be interesting is the thought could be that the actors and actresses that like the person who plays Harry, the person who plays Ron, the person who plays Hermione, they will be, initially involved in this and everything. And then maybe once they get to a certain age and they're able to understand and get online and read about, She Who Must Not Be Named's comments about the transgender community, all that kind of stuff. And they'll just be like, oh, I'm not going to do this anymore. So like they could get to the Goblet of Fire and says, oh yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. And everything comes to a crash. I have seen that also be posed.
Right. Yeah.
So I pose the question to you now. On a scale of 1 to 10, how necessary? First, how necessary? How possible would it be if the Wizarding World of Harry Potter could get somebody else to create these stories?
What do you? I am a little confused by your question or
So
the ranking.
so see, this is hard because I feel like the answer is in the question, or the answer is it's one answer really, because I mean my question is, should She Who Must Not Be Named take a step back from the Wizarding World of Harry Potter? And if so, how possible is that likely to happen?
Like, how likely do I think it is that she'll
Yeah.
step back and let
Oh
somebody
yeah.
else
Let
take
someone else
over?
do it.
I don't know that it'd be very likely.
I would say probably
Especially
a
not.
0.
Yeah, I was gonna say, especially not like total control.
Mm-hmm.
She may like share some of it.
She's always going to make
But
money off of this.
I think she is, and honestly, like, fair. If I were to have created an entire world and continue to have like stories or an idea of these characters and what they're doing or what they would do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I imagine she has so much more story in her head than what she gave us.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we asked for a Marauder series, I bet she's thought about it.
Yeah.
You know, and she has a little bit of a story in her brain about what could have or should have, you know, with Marauders.
Mm-hmm.
And just as a creator of this world, I think it'd be hard, like, for me to give that up and just let somebody else take over entirely. It's like, you know, it's, you know, when people talk about their projects like they're babies, you know, like,
Yeah.
I made this is something I created.
Mm-hmm. So and that's the whole, like, the conversation that people don't want to have or are unwilling to have, but it's a reality of just virtually almost no one would give up the property that they created and see somebody else take over and to create stories within their universe. The one
Very few
exception
people.
The one exception is George Lucas, obviously, with Star Wars.
Yeah.
He may not have loved or liked the majority of what they've done with Star Wars since Disney has taken over, and since George sold that part to Disney. But I always tell this to Star Wars fans, like, it's not his call anymore. Like, Disney didn't force him to sell. He sold. He gave away his rights to the property. He did that.
I wonder if after so many years, because like he was attached to Star Wars for so long before giving up rights. And I know that she's been attached to Harry Potter for our entire lives.
I think at this point it's been like 30 years.
Yeah. And so it, you know, it makes me wonder, is it a time thing? She's just not ready yet? Or is it a, I know I'm going to make money off of it? Or is it a pride thing?
Could be.
You know, like, everybody wants me to give it up, but I'm not going to, just to show them, you know, I don't know what it is.
Right.
But I can definitely see that, like, I made this and I still want to be involved in it because I made it and I love it. And I want to see it go good places. And that's hard when you give up control entirely.
And I don't think that that's something that she is going to do.
Right.
Like, it's hard for me to foresee that. So really you have to decide, like, where you are at this point in terms of Harry Potter. Like, are you going to continue with this? Are you going to keep watching these films or these TV shows or whatever? And that's a really hard thing to do. But at the same time, it's a new beginning for the franchise. Whether we think that's good or not, or whether we believe whether it will be good or not,
right,
remains to be seen, because we just We don't know.
Mm.
We just don't.
No.
But yeah, those are our thoughts off of this new reboot series by Max for the original Harry Potter. So what's next for the podcast? Abby and I, we're about to figure that out right now about where we're going in terms of the show requirement. But just know that we got some more content coming out for you. And it won't just be the two of us. We'll bring some guests as well to kind of help us in our journey. We will most likely continue our Hogwarts Cup. So if you are a Slytherin, or if you're a Ravenclaw and you would love to join us on an episode of the show requirement talking through that, please feel free to comment below on this video. Make sure to email us at showrequirements@gmail.com. Reach us on Instagram at hpotter_fanatics as well. If you are listening to the audio version of the podcast, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, a positive review, as it helps us continue to climb up the I don't want to say social status, but it helps us reach more and more Potterheads out there in the world. If you're watching our YouTube channel, our YouTube version of the episode, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Harry Potter Fanatics. And like I said, comment about your thoughts on the reboot. And what do you guys think that we should cover next? What should we talk about on the podcast? We'd love to hear what you guys want us to talk about. So we'll be back with another episode here soon. But until next time, for Abby, this is David on the Show of Requirements, a Harry Potter podcast. And until next time, mischief managed.